Okay, we are like, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to our ISKCON Naperville Sunday feast. Uh, Today's Sunday feast is from our congregation, core congregation, senior devotee, Her Grace Govinda Mohini Mataji. And Mataji is continuing our series of Gita summarization chapter, each chapter 1 week. So Mataji is going to cover chapter 5, Karma Yoga, today. So we heard 4 chapters last 4 weeks. Now we're going to hear from Mataji, the 5th chapter summary. And just a little background about Mataji. She's very senior devotee in our congregation. And Mataji has been practicing Bhakti Yoga since last 7+ years. Mataji is active book distributor, congregation member, Sunday school teacher, and an enthusiast in personal study and facilitated study of scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Those who know her, Mataji appreciates her thoughtfulness, commitment, mode of service, strong determination in prioritizing her spiritual practices while engaging in a busy and expanding profession as an architect and being a mother of 3 active boys. I know Mataji personally. She is very enthusiastic in her even in her busy schedule. She finds time to read scriptures and share the knowledge with others. I know when Mataji went to India, especially I remember when in Jagannath Puri, Mataji used to go out in the morning and in the afternoons along the beach to give Bhagavad Gita to others. So I still remember those. Mataji, thank you so much, and wish you good luck. You're saying this is your first Sunday feast, so we all want to pray for you so that you can deliver the wonderful message for all of us. Thank you, Mataji. Go ahead and take. If you have anything to share, please go ahead. Please share.
Sure. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, and welcome everyone to our Sunday Feast program. I'll start with the prayers and then I'll share my presentation. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangulangamate kirim yat kripatmaham bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of the fallen souls. His mercy turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. So just give me 1 second. I want to share my screen. Just on my computer. Well, then I have to start again. I can't find my presentation. Okay, here it is. Okay. Share screen. Okay, here it is. Okay, so as we know, we're continuing our summary of chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So today I'll be summarizing chapter 5. So what I would like to do is, as you all know, I'm an optometrist by profession. So I usually explain the eye in terms of a camera. So it's almost like I'm going to use the camera to take zoom completely out, give kind of like an overview, and we're going to slowly zoom in, slowly going into chapter 5, and then really zooming in to the messages from chapter 5 that we can take home and apply in our lives. So just to do a quick review, is Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses, and our acharyas have divided Bhagavad Gita into 3 sections: chapters 1 through 6 Karma Yoga, 7 through 12 Bhakti Yoga, and 13 through 18 Gnana Yoga. And also in introduction, Prabhupada tells us that there are 5 topics that are and time, karma, 5 things, and out of those 5, 4 are eternal, and only one that can be changed. So this first part is about Karma Yoga that we're discussing. So this chapter 1, we saw that Arjuna's begins with setting up the scene where Arjuna is confused and he refuses to fight, and he gives all his reasons why he doesn't want to fight. And in chapter 2, which is a prelude to Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, accepts him as a spiritual master, and Krishna gives knowledge about Sankhya Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. But in all of that, he just gives like a quick synopsis. And now in chapter, then he starts to explain each one in systematic way in much more detail. So in chapter 3, the Karma Yoga, the title is Karma Yoga, and in that, Krishna gives further knowledge that there are 2 types of people. There is Nishkama Karma Yogi, who do prescribed work, but they're not attached to the fruits of the results. And then there's Gnana Yogi, who renounces work. He also describes like a series from going from Karma Kanda to Karma Yoga and the sacrifice cycle, and also at the end about conquering lust. Chapter 4 last week we heard is about Gnana Yoga, which leads to renunciation. And then chapter 5 that we'll be discussing today is again on Karma Yoga. So in 2, Krishna describes about both, and then in 4, just mostly about Gnana Yoga. And in chapter 5, further about this Karma Yoga, which he will tell us in details. So also we can see, we'll just go in a little bit in, and then we'll see how Krishna has spoken this Bhagavad Gita, and it's very in systematic way. So yoga means it's the process of linking oneself with the Supreme. So Krishna has described all these different systems, the Karma Yoga, Gnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and it is considered like a step-by-step ladder. So one can begin. So first we can also try to differentiate, what is karma and what is karma yoga, right? So karma just means people who do certain activities, and according to that activities, you get good or bad results. But what karma yoga means that we are doing the prescribed duty, but through those activities, we're trying to link ourselves to the Supreme. So that becomes then activities, they're trying to link with the Supreme, it becomes yoga. So karma yoga. When that karma yoga, which means people do their prescribed duties, but they renounce the results of their work. And they offer it. Prabhupada takes this even further. And then, we don't only just renounce the results, but we offer it to Krishna. And that becomes bhakti anytime when we do something for Krishna. So that's almost like a stepping stone, one can say, that leads to eventually pure devotional service. Because in karma yoga, we do activities that are conducive according to our psychophysical nature. And then we offer that to Krishna. Whereas in pure devotional service, everything is done for Krishna, no matter what the activity is. There is no person doesn't look at, can I do this? Can I not do this? Is it conducive? Is it according to my nature? Do I like to do this? Everything is done for Krishna. So for us, because we are conditioned by our nature, karma yoga, we can take it as like a stepping stone towards pure devotional service. When this karma yoga is further increases, person increases their knowledge and their renunciation increases, it leads to this gnana yoga, where these gnani, they also renounce the results and they try to meditate on Brahman, the impersonal Brahman platform. As that meditation increases, it leads to Ashtanga Yoga, where one meditates on the super soul, the Paramatma within. And then that also, as one advances, it leads eventually to Bhakti Yoga, where one realizes the Supreme Lord as a person, a Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and engages in the full service of the Lord. So this one, obviously, Krishna is describing the step-by-step method or ladder, but because of Prabhupada's mercy, we are given this direct method or this elevator method of Bhakti Yoga. So that is what we are trying to practice. So let's look at the verses that led to Arjuna's confusion. It's not letting me advance. I'm so not good with the technology, and this is not letting me advance to my next. Going backwards. Okay, I just click on that. Okay. So let's look at the verses that led to Arjuna's confusion, because chapter 5 opens with Arjuna asking a question to Krishna, and his confusion that he presents to Krishna in form of a question. So in text 441, chapter 441, Krishna tells Arjuna that therefore one who renounced the fruits of his action, whose doubts are destroyed by transcendental knowledge, and who is situated firmly in the self, is not bound by works, O conqueror of riches. So we could see in the synonyms that Krishna is glorifying renunciation, sannyasta, and gnana, knowledge. But in the very next verse, then Krishna tells Arjuna to stand and fight. He orders Krishna to get up and fight. So one, he's telling him that renounce, and on the other verse, he's saying stand and fight, which means work, do something. So let's see in the first verse, Arjuna says that, "O Krishna, first of all, you ask me to renounce work. And then again, you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?" So this is similar to chapter 3, where Arjuna had asked similar question. And we, as we know that Arjuna is a pure devotee. He knows the knowledge perfectly, but he was put into illusion. He was put into bewilderment. So Krishna can speak this Bhagavad Gita or this knowledge for our benefit. So it is Krishna's plan that Arjuna remains confused for our benefit, so their dialogue can continue and we can continue to learn. So this Arjuna's real confusion is, as we saw in those two verses, that in the one verse, he said, renounce. So for Arjuna, renunciation means to be completely free from all kinds of activity. That means just stop working, go into some cave and renounce any work. Don't do any activity. So for him, this work and renunciation seems incompatible. So let's see what Krishna starts to answer. So now we're going to zoom in a little bit. This was just a general. And now we're just going to do a quick summary of the chapter. There's 29 verses. So we'll do a quick summary of the chapter. So Krishna answers from text 2 through 6, where first he says that both renunciation and work, they're both good for liberation, but for Arjuna, and which also includes us, Karma Yoga is better. He says that Karma Yoga and Sankhya, they're the same. And how they're the same? Because in both of them, ultimate goal is to reach Vishnu, or their goal is Vishnu. So the difference between them, Prabhupada explains it in his purports, that Sankhya means to study analytically what is spirit, what is matter. And when somebody studies that and gets that knowledge, they understand that they're not this body, but spirit soul. So once they understand that they're spirit soul, their analysis leads them to just detach from matter, which leads to renunciation. But even in there, the goal is to find the root of the material world, which is Lord Vishnu. And in Karma Yoga, person has the knowledge of its true identity, that they're spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and they're meant to serve. So they, instead of detaching from matter, they just attach to the service to Krishna. And this attachment to Krishna is explained as watering the root of the tree rather than just leaves and twigs and branches. So even as we're watering the root by the service, to whom? To Lord Vishnu. And Krishna also says that just renouncing is very difficult and distressful, because unless one's heart is fully purified, if they renounce, it doesn't last long, and their senses, we'll see later, it says, Krishna says that they're very strong. It becomes very difficult to follow and distressful this path. Then in from 5:7 through 12, Krishna describes the characteristics and the results of one who follows Karma Yoga, who is following this path. when they work in devotion, they're never entangled in reactions of their activities. They're a doer, yet non-doer, which means that their material senses are doing the activities. The self or the soul is separate and aloof from it. So then one may question that, yet the body is doing the actions, and why? Why does one keep doing the activity? Because when one works for the Supreme, one is not affected by sinful actions. We learned about, the karma and akarma. So when we do the activities for the Lord, it doesn't have any reactions, or in here it says sinful actions. And Krishna gives nice analogy, just as a lotus leaf is untouched by water. So lotus leaf, even though it stays in the muddy water, it has a waxy surface where anything, if the water comes, it glides right off. It doesn't stick to the lotus leaf. So similarly, one who's following this karma yoga, the reactions just glide right off. They don't get affected by the sinful reactions from the activities. So one may question that if one is detached from the work because he knows that he's spirit soul and not this body, what is the purpose of working? And Krishna answers that in next verse, that it's only for the purpose of purification. And then at the end, text 12, it's a summary of the previous verses. And the result of one who's following this path, person who's devoted, they get unadulterated peace. But somebody who's greedy for the fruits become and stay entangled. Then in the next section, which is the knowledge of the three doers, which covers from text 13 through 16. And the purpose of Krishna gives this knowledge. The purpose is to, one, understand that Jiva is not the only doer. He's doer number one, who knows that all the bodily activities are automatically carried out by the modes of material nature, which is doer number two. And after those activities are sanctioned by the super soul, which is doer number three. And when one understands these three doers, then one gets enlightenment through that knowledge. So this we will discuss more in depth. So this is something we're going to zoom in a little bit more after we're done with the summary. Oops. How do I go back? Hold on. I skipped too many slides. Okay, right here. So text 17 through 26, Krishna, the main topic is liberation by focusing on the super soul. So once one has this knowledge of the three doers, and they know there's Paramatma, I'm not the only doer. There is also the Supreme Lord in the form of super soul or Paramatma. The symptoms when one has this realization is they focus on the Supreme. They proceed on the path of liberation. And this 5:18 is a very famous verse where it says that somebody with this vision has equal vision towards all living entities. And that is because they not only see the soul, but they also see the Paramatma as the impartial sanctioner of desires present in everyone. They do not see the external differences or different bodies that people have. They know that these bodies are only given by the material nature with the sanction of the Lord, and they treat everyone equally. And then as further one progresses, they reach this Brahman platform where they have the equanimity of their mind. They conquer birth and death. And these karma yogis, they really start to detach from these external pleasures, and they start to focus inward. It's more an inward journey for us than just showing externally. They reject sense gratification, and they seek pleasure in the Supreme, service to the Supreme. Also, this karma yogi, they understand that the sense pleasures are temporary and source of distress. Yet these urges of our senses are so strong. Krishna also in chapter 2 tells that if any of the senses, even one of the senses, if they focus on some sense object, it can really swept us away. So what to do when these senses are so strong? So Krishna says that we tolerate these urges. We tolerate these urges until when? Until end of life. And what will help us tolerate these urges? Because they are definitely strong. We see, there is, this whole world is working with this sense enjoyment advertisement everywhere we look. So what will help us actually is this intellectual conviction, knowing that nothing in this material world will bring us lasting happiness. This material world is a miserable place. No matter what we try to do, no matter how we try to achieve the happiness, it is temporary, it is not long lasting. And the second thing is this higher taste. Krishna says in 259, this param drashtva nivartate. Getting this higher taste of Krishna consciousness, we will automatically the lower taste of sense gratification will fall off. So in summary, it's one who is in knowledge devotionally fixes his consciousness on the super soul and remains materially equipoised, even though the path seems very rare to achieve and difficult. If one tolerates the urges of the senses until the end of life, Krishna says one attains liberation in the near future. So he gives us hope that in the near future, if you follow this, you will get liberation. And then the next couple of verses, Krishna gives this preview of chapter 6, which will talk about Dhyana Yoga or Ashtanga Yoga, where one is to shut out all the external sense objects, keep their eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspend their inward and outward breath within the nostrils, controlling the mind, senses, and intelligence, and become free from desire, fear, and anger. And when one reaches that state, they become certainly liberated. And then 529, which is the peace formula, where Krishna is saying that the sages knows me as the ultimate purpose of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attain peace from the pangs of material miseries. So what Krishna is saying, that when person is in full consciousness of Krishna, knowing him to be the supreme enjoyer, supreme proprietor, and supreme well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace. So that is the result of one following this ultimately, that they receive peace or liberation from the pangs of material miseries. So this will be the second point that we will focus on. We'll zoom our lenses in. So let's go to understanding these three doers. And why do we want to understand these three doers? We want to understand these three doers and put them in proper perspective, because that will help us remove our ignorance, this ignorance that's keeping us in the cycle of birth and death. One can become free or understand. It will help us go in the right direction. So what is the root cause of our suffering? Prabhupada, tells us over and over again that this root cause of our suffering is this ignorance. And what is this ignorance, right? What is this ignorance? Is this one being ignorant of who he or she is. We're forgetful of our superior nature. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna has inferior energy, which are the material modes. and the superior energy, which is the living entity, we are forgetful of that we are superior energy of Krishna. And because we have come in contact with the material modes of nature or material nature, we are starting to identify ourselves with this body or the matter. And that causes these sufferings and distresses in our lives. So just Prabhupada often, gives us this example that when the rain is pure, when it's in the cloud, but as it comes down and reaches the earth, it becomes muddy. It mixes with the water and no longer is pure. So same way, we are living entity is pure by nature, but coming in contact with the material nature, it has become muddy or it has become contaminated, and it starts to falsely identify oneself with the body rather than its original self. And that is our ignorance. And then what is the ignorance? How to remove this ignorance is through knowledge. And so this is the knowledge, is understanding this interrelation between these three is the knowledge that Krishna is trying to give us. So due to this false identification that living entity or jiva, in text 14, Krishna says that jiva appears to be the master of this body, and there's a word that specifically used is Prabhu, which means master. So jiva falsely thinks that he's the master of this body, but in actuality, he's neither the proprietor nor the controller. So if jiva is not the master, but we see that all the activities are going on, right? Our bodies are moving, we're doing activities. So this matter is moving due to jiva, but jiva is not the, jiva is pure. Jiva is not the one doing the activity. Then who is doing the activity, right? We have to ask, because we see everything is moving in this world. So it's actually the or svabhava or particular nature that we have acquired due to past impressions from time immemorial. Prabhupada says in the purport that due to that, the modes of material nature will give one specific body. So it's the modes of material nature that are causing the activity. And according to there's our impressions or specific nature, one gets the body. So we can get different bodies according to our desires and karma. You can get a dog's body or demigod's body or human body or tree or plant. So this Krishna had also mentioned this earlier in text 327, this similar concept, where he said that the spirit soul is bewildered and under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of the activities, which in actuality are carried out by nature. So because of this bewilderment, because of this ignorance, we think we're the doer, but it's actually being carried out by modes of material nature. Sorry. Yeah. So now let's see. So this modes of material nature, as we know, it is the inferior energy of the Lord, and it's inert by nature. It cannot move on its own. It requires something to move it. So we just heard that living entity is not the doer. He's not the one controlling the modes. So who is the one who's controlling the modes? Who is the superior energy? And that is Krishna. That is the Supreme Lord who is controlling the modes. So now let us understand this relationship between the three, now that we know. So living entity actually, yeah, let me just, before I explain that, let me just step back for a second. So we know that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he's the one who sanctions according to the living entities what he deserves from the past desires and past karma. So when somebody hears that the Lord is the one who sanctions everything, we hear that nothing moves, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. So the sanction comes from Krishna. So one can blame Lord for his misfortunes or sufferings, because one can say that if Krishna is sanctioning, why is he not sanctioning just happiness to everybody? Why is he sanctioning suffering? So this, we must understand these three doers properly, as I said earlier. So this relationship between the three is that living entity has the desires. Okay, and according to those desires, one will do their actions. Their body will carry out the actions. Krishna is the one who sanctions those. Krishna is the sanctioner of those activities. And in the purport, Prabhupada said that the one way that we know or we hear, that man proposes and God disposes. So Krishna sanctions, and material nature is with the reaction with the time, carries out or fulfills those desires according to what a jiva deserves through the sanction that Krishna has given. So even though the Lord is the ultimate controller or the sanctioner, he is not, what we have to understand is that he is not the initiator of those desires. We are, as a living entity, we are the responsible doers. We are the one desiring particular desires, and we're acting on it. And from that, we're creating through those activities or karmic activities, good or bad results. And with that, we're getting the reactions. So even though the Lord is the ultimate controller, he's not the initiator of those desires, and therefore cannot be held responsible. Also, the modes of material nature, also, they just deliver the results. And hence, they're considered remote cause, but they're also not responsible. So one way to understand this is analogy of a criminal, a police, and a judge. So judge has, or the government has set certain laws that all the citizens are to follow. So let's say if somebody breaks the rule and doesn't follow the law, he's considered a criminal. And police will arrest the person for breaking the law and present it to the judge. And judge, according to the laws that have been set by the government, will sanction the punishment according to the crime that has been committed. So, he can sanction a capital punishment. He can sanction 5-year imprisonment, 10 years, just supervision at home. So according to the crime committed, judge will sanction. But when we see in this analogy, we can see that police is just carrying out the order of the government. They are just arresting the criminal. Judge is only sanctioning according to the crime that's committed. So can we hold either one of them responsible? No, we cannot, because criminal is the one, the person who broke the crime is the one who is responsible. So similarly, Krishna in material modes, even though we're all interrelated, they are not to be held responsible for our sufferings. So once when we have this knowledge, in text 16, Krishna says, having this knowledge of Atma, Paramatma, and the modes of nature, modes of material nature, it can help us destroy our avidya, or ignorance. And this knowledge then lights up everything in daytime. So which knowledge is like the sun? So understanding this, where we can really, if we can understand that Krishna is fair, Krishna is just, Krishna is impartial, and he's forever kind to living entities. Krishna is actually more pained to see us in our sufferings than we can understand. So recently, just a quick sharing that my last week, one of my son, he had to be admitted to the hospital, and I was at work at that time. And my husband called me and said, I have to take him to the hospital, and there has to be a procedure that has to be done. I was at work, and he told me because of COVID, they're only allowing one parent in the ER. You cannot come. So I said, okay. And I tried at work. I was at work. I was trying to see my patients. And I was so disturbed, even though my husband said, I will handle it. You don't need to come. Just knowing that my son is in difficulty or in pain, I was so disturbed. I couldn't focus at work. And I said, no, I need to go see him. So, this is obviously just a mother-son relationship, but Krishna is our supreme father. So when he sees us and our pain, he is more disturbed actually than we are. So he's really just, he's very merciful, and he wants us to come back to him. And that's why he gives us knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, which is really, we really need to pay attention to this message and understand this, and understand our futility in trying to lord it over this material nature. Because when we understand this, it can help us surrender to the Lord for our own benefit. So there's the three, and understanding these three doers. And let's zoom in a little further. So this is the first zoom in. And let's zoom in a little bit about on this text 29, which is Krishna, which is the ultimate result of one following this karma yoga, which is to achieve peace. So we all want to achieve peace. Oftentimes when you ask people what are they looking for, because we're greatly all disturbed, with everything that's going on in the world, in our lives, many things disturb us. So oftentimes people, even more than happiness, sometimes people say, I'm looking for peace. I'm looking for peace of mind. I just want to have some peace. So it's actually, and then on the larger scale, we talk about world peace, where everybody's united. But this world peace, or even this peace within ourselves, is not possible until we become aware of or making our peace with Krishna. Because soul, as we say it like has declared war against God. People have declared war against God, and then they want to be peaceful. And that formula is just not possible. So this formula, this peace formula that Krishna is giving us is this, he's saying he's the Bhoktaram. He's the beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. And that is actually understanding Krishna's position, who he is. Any activities we do, if we keep Krishna in mind and him as a beneficiary and offer it to him, that is actually the greatest peace formula. And why do we need to offer it to Krishna? Why not to anybody else? Because he's saying in this verse that he is the proprietor of all planets and demigods. So he's the supreme proprietor. He's the one who owns everything. He's the, so if we offer it to him, he's a proprietor, understanding, having this understanding, and offering it to Krishna can help us reach some peace in our mind. Also, this another word I'd like to focus on is this benefactor, that Krishna is our ultimate benefactor. So I looked up this word benefactor in the dictionary, and of course it gives in terms of finances, but what I extracted from it is that Krishna is benefactor is someone who does good without expectation of return. So that is Krishna's kindness. He is he's our best friend, he's our well-wisher, and not just us, of all living entities. He is telling us that, he is in this, he's telling us, so when somebody understands this position of Krishna as well-wisher and best friend, one can achieve this peace, or from these pangs of material miseries. So lastly, I want to focus on just some takeaway messages. Okay, so let's just go over from this. So this was, we're going to completely zoom in now to take away some practical points. So one is that we understand, when we understand these three doers, and we understand that living entity has a free will, this minute independence. So that means that we always have a choice. Krishna never takes away this free will choice that a jiva has. And we always have a choice to either to turn to Krishna or to turn away from Krishna. The choice is always ours. And hopefully after understanding this, we always try to choose Krishna. Second thing also, when we understand the three doers, and as we discussed, that living entity is really the responsible doer. So when some misfortunes or suffering happens, we take responsibility. We don't blame Krishna or other people for suffering, because that is easy to do. It's easy to blame, but harder to take responsibility. So we take responsibility for misfortune, where we understand that I must have done something wrong in my past life, or in my, knowingly or unknowingly, I have done something wrong. And I am only receiving the results of it, where people are just becoming an instrument and delivering my karma. And this point about how Krishna is always just, fair, impartial, and forever kind to all living entities. And also when we understand these three doers and we compare and see our position in terms of who the Lord is and who we are, that should help us surrender. And surrender not grudgingly, or, my God, I need to surrender to Krishna, he's the greatest. No, with the love and understanding that he is my best friend, he is my ever well-wisher, and he sends the devotees, holy names, scriptures, spiritual master. In every way, he's trying to reclaim us, to go back to him. So this message about, Krishna is our best friend and our well-wisher, if we can really capture that in our heart, and if we can really see in our, lives just through this lens, how Krishna is my best friend, we will see how Krishna is always helping us. I just want to share, so I just want to share a personal message or story about this, how Krishna is our best friend. Actually, this verse is very dear to me, and I've always contemplated on how Krishna is my best friend. Krishna says he's my best friend, but there's so much things is always going on in my life. How is he? I'm just contemplating or meditating, let's say, on that. So about 4 months ago, my father-in-law passed away in just really shocking or just quick way, which we weren't expecting. And then really month after, one of my husband's cousins, she passed away. So just as going through this, there was a lot of emotions, a lot of internal struggle that I was personally experiencing. And I was really trying to focus on this specific words that Krishna is my best friend. So one morning, I actually had this realization that how Krishna is my best friend. As I was going through the events of all that had happened, I realized that a lot of our friends and family, they came, to see us at home. Some came to the funerals, some consoled us on the phone. There was definitely a lot of support, which was definitely, as we can see, Krishna sanctioned, and everybody was there. But what I realized, how Krishna was my best, or is my best friend, is that all those other friends came at different times, but Holy Name was with me throughout. Holy Name was with me in the hospital. Holy Name was with me at the funeral home. The devotees came and they did kirtan. The Holy Name was going on. Holy Name was with me in the morning as I'm doing my japa. Every evening we were doing kirtan at home. Holy Name was with me in the evening. So what I came to realize that Krishna is my best friend. Other friends, because of the limitations, they came and they left. But Holy Name didn't leave me a single moment. If I wanted to recall, Holy Name was right there in every step of the way. So, similarly, we can all actually examine our lives. Krishna as our best friend comes in our lives in different ways, actually, whether it's through Holy Name or through scriptures or through our spiritual master or mentors, the devotees. He's always, always, always there for us. So I would really like, if anything from this class, if you want to take home, is please take this as a message and put it in our hearts that Krishna is my best friend. Krishna is my well-wisher, and he's always there for me. So, usually that's, I would like to conclude my presentation with that. And, normally we try to do the session of this question answer. But what I was thinking, actually, what would be really nice is if other people can also share how they have felt Krishna's presence as their best friend in their lives. Because as we hear from more people and how Krishna is present in everybody's life, it can help us increase and grow our faith in Krishna. So that's what actually, if it is okay, that is something I would like to request everyone or anyone who would like to share something, how they have felt Krishna's presence in their life and how they know that Krishna is their best friend.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Mataji, wow, such a beautiful lecture. I had so many takeaway points from you. And especially how you said, everyone is there as a supporter, but how Krishna, you practically made me understand how Krishna is, always with us, because the Holy Name is always with us. No matter, people come and go, support comes and goes. That was just so wonderful. And one of the things that I would want to share is how Krishna, I understand Krishna is my best friend, is, sometimes at the moment when I see, especially in the past, I would see situations that would be very distressful for me. But then, all those things, just few weeks or few months or few years later, when I see those things, why that happened, at that time I was in distress, very, very high distress. But then I see the good outcome of those situations. Those situations changed and transformed my life in a better way. But at that point, I couldn't tell. I was thinking, what is wrong? Why is this happening? But, so I personally do understand that Krishna is always our well-wisher. He never is, doing something on purpose. Even if, with our karmas that he gives us back, it is always that he is choosing what's best for us. We just may not be able to see it at this point, but in future, we will see it and understand it. So thank you so much for such a great lecture. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This is Shri Adhika Devdasi. Thank you for your class. Because of the circumstance, I wasn't able to attend most of it, but I joined just about 10 minutes back and really appreciated your sharing. And I wanted to share Krishna. I really feel his presence is my best friend, because on a daily basis, I fall short of my own ideals and my own values, whether it's I want to chant with attention, whether it's I want to be a loving mom, whether it's I don't want to get angry. Everything that I hold is very dear to my heart. I keep falling short of it. And it's daily. And it can be very discouraging. And, I do have a tween, and children can be very good at holding up a mirror to you and say, gosh, you're so terrible, And in spite of all of that, every single day, Krishna doesn't leave my side, and he just, I feel that he picks me up again and gives me the strength to keep going. Yes, you fell today. Yes, you didn't live up to your own ideals. Yes, you fell short of the kind of person, devotee, mother, wife you want to be today. But he gives the strength to just pick up and move on and keep going and, march forward. And he has helped me be persistent for 2 decades now and not give up on the process. So I feel in that way, he's my best friend. Thank you. And you're a great teacher.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to share? We have a couple minutes.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice class.
Is there? Yeah.
Well, I'll see anybody on from YouTube. Let me check. I don't see anybody comments on there. Questions? Mataji's Prabhus, anybody is inspired to share their, as Mataji asked. Mataji is very smart. She doesn't want any questions.
If there's any questions, I'm happy to.
Good, Mataji. Very wonderful class. Thank you very much. And I just remembered something I read, which Chaitanya Charan Prabhu had written in The Spiritual Scientist. That is just like if you are in a foreign country and you don't know the language, and if somebody comes straight at you and you are walking on the road and somebody comes straight at you and push you away from there, and then you think, oh, he's being so rude. Why is he doing this to me? I mean, he's almost attacking me by just pushing me from my road. And then suddenly some terrible thing was coming from behind you. He was trying to protect you by just having you out of the way. Similarly, sometimes we don't understand the significance of what is happening to us right now. And later only when we look back, oh, Krishna prevented this from happening to me. I mean, he protected me this way. He gave me a better direction this way. Like that, you will find out, later on when you see this. So in my lifelong experience, I have always felt Krishna has planned for me and made me walk a certain decisions. Certain decisions could not be, it was against my desire, but still now I can understand why it was against my desire and why it is Krishna's way of doing it. So I understand him better, So many things like that. You feel so peaceful. Yes, peace formula is that. knowing that Krishna is, Upadrashta cha Anumandasta, Paramatma be Uktopi. He is our friend and companion throughout and always. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. You brought forward very nicely from your own two little experiences you shared. Very touching. Thank you very much. Very natural speaker. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madam.
Hey, anybody else wants to share? Okay, Mataji, thank you so much for your wonderful lecture, as usual. You even speaks in the Bhagavatam classes, so enlightening. Thank you, Mataji. And you must have spent a lot of time for preparing this one. We really appreciate for your time. And I know you, as you said in the class, you're going through some difficult situations, but we truly appreciate for giving Sunday Fish class for ISKCON Naperville devotees. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. With that said, we have an announcement from temple management, Shumangala Mataji. Mataji, if you are online, can you please? I'm going to share the screen. Mataji, I'll share the screen, the image you sent me, and you can talking about that.
Thank you, Prabhu. That would be great if you can share that.
Okay, go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah. If you firstly, thank you, everyone. This is a nice, Sunday feast class. Thank you, Mataji, for the wonderful class. I'm very happy to announce the festival that we have coming up, Lord Nityananda Trayadashi, and first time in our ISKCON Naperville temple, we are celebrating the festival on the same day as the festival. It's not like we are not celebrating on the weekend, but we will be going forward. We will be celebrating the festival on the same day. So that happens to be Monday, February 14th. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this. It's like a wonderful thing that we are transitioning to starting from this year. So the schedule is as posted on the screen. It is on February 14th, Monday. And it's going to start from 5:30 to 6:30. 5:30 to 6, we'll have the Kirtan. 6 to 6:30 p.m., we'll have the Aarti. And 6:30 to 6:40, the 7:15, I typed it wrong, 7:15 will be the festival talk, and 7:15 onwards, we will have the Prasadam. So the schedule starts from 5:30 onwards. So I would like to request everybody to join the festival celebrations. And also we are looking for some help with the prasadam preparation. So if anybody have bandwidth, I'll be posting the prasadam help in the Vaishnavi group and other groups. So please, if you have any bandwidth, please support with that prasadam preparation. So again, one more time, February 14th, the celebrations will be starting from 5:30 at the temple. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for that announcement.
I'm sorry, Prabhu. I'll be sending a Google form for this because that will help us for the preparation of the prasadam, because we cannot, guesstimate how many people are going to come, and we don't want to fall short of prasadam too. So please kindly fill the form. I know, the form comes, but it takes only few minutes to fill the form. So please kindly fill up that form. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. On to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, devotees, and we'll meet next Sunday in person. So that's the announcement came already in our congregation WhatsApp. So we will be doing in person Sunday feast starting from next Sunday. So 13th February, we are all going to sit in the temple premise, and we're going to hear from on Bhagavad Gita chapter 6.
So
Okay.
we won't have the Zoom anymore?
There will be YouTube live, but I don't think there will be Zoom. It will be in person.
Okay.
And you must have got that information already from temple president in the congregation WhatsApp group. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you all, and we will end the call.